GCSEs do not determine the person that you are. They don't determine the life you're going to have. You don't need qualifications from school at GCSE level, A level, university level to be the most financially successful person in the entire world. In fact, most financially successful people in the entire world do not come from school. They come from other ways. They do not come from school. The majority of school routes will not put you into massive financial success. And that's the truth in 2025. And that's all I'm going to say. It's the truth. It's the truth. So don't anybody come at Esme about IGCSEs or anything else, because she will be massively successful in the world and she will not get there because she had GCSEs. But
the only reason.
Yeah, the only reason, yeah. And if there's anybody else that's out there that can't take their GCSE exams or doesn't want to, or has failed their exams and can't face retaking them, or just whatever it might be, you are not a failure in any way, shape or form.
No.
And trust me when I say the most successful people on this planet did not come from GCSEs.
So Chris recently said his piece about the education system, and that's got a lot of people divided. You know, the IFAM and the anti-FAM, very much divided. But it can also divide opinion whether or not the schooling system is good or bad. You don't have to be an anti-FAM or an IFAM to think that. So on Chris and Sarah's new TikTok account, apparently got a new TikTok account, I didn't know that. Ingham Family Clips, I didn't know that. They got about 600 subs at the moment. That's exciting, isn't it? Well done. So on there, a bunch of people commented, and Sarah, well, Chris predominantly, I would imagine, has responded in kind, and it was a delight to read, and I want to go through a few comments here because it's enjoyable. So this person said, having money doesn't equal being successful though. I would rather have a worthwhile profession, saving and making a difference to people's lives, and have less money, to be honest. Making money by exploiting your family and selling your soul to YouTube is not something that I aspire to, regardless of how much money you can make. A very good point, very well made by that person. Chris, though, didn't think so. He laughed his head off and said, no one exploits anyone, and selling your soul? Jesus. Right, so yes, the exploitation thing, you know you exploit your kids, but surely to goodness you've seen Aurora, she was on the video recently, right? You can't tell me that wasn't her, because it definitely was, 100%. And Mila and Jace, they've also been on there. You know, you're not telling me that I was mistaken. They weren't really on your videos, and you weren't really exploiting them, because I reckon that they, yeah. Love this one. Do you educate them on debt? And Chris, to his credit, replied, because he wasn't going to ignore it. He knows what was a hidden meaning behind this question. And he said, of course we do. It's all part and parcel of being financially rich. Managing what is good debt and what is bad debt. Because there are two kinds of debt. Debt that pays you and is good. Debt that you pay, which isn't always bad, but can be. Well, which debt is CCJs? Are they good debt or bad debt, Chris? Which debt are HMRC taxes? Good or bad debt? Debts that close companies down, good or bad debt? I'd like those answers, please. Thank you very much. And the next one, well, somebody replied, obviously, to this and said, and 140k worth from a liquidated business. And Chris said, tell me you know nothing about business without actually telling me you know nothing about business. Also, that is insanely creepy. The fact that you don't realise this is worrying. What's so creepy about it? It's public. It's public. That's why there's a register of public companies with public things, right? So people like you don't get away with doing stupid things and think that they can just say anything. Like you, for example, are selling this lifestyle of Dubai on the basis that you are financially rich and successful and everything else, but yet not telling people that you are financially screwed, right? That is what we in the business like to call just deceitful, lying, fake, and downright stupid and horrible and nasty, right? So it's not creepy, no. It also, what I don't understand what you mean that that person doesn't know anything about business. 140k worth of debt, which has closed down a company, that's not good, right? And that person has it spot on, and yet you don't. So who knows more about business? Them or you? So this person replied to the video and said, that's not true. Most billionaires did STEM degrees. Chris replied, most billionaires made their billions from doing businesses and taking investments that had nothing to do with any education they had. Your point is also not accurate for a vast majority of successful million and billionaire entrepreneurs out there. So basically, that person's wrong. According to Chris, in the nicest possible sense, he said that you are wrong, completely wrong. This person replied to Chris and said they did. You gain transferable skills from it. Chris and Sarah just got lucky with family vlogging. And they didn't like that. Because, of course, we all know that Chris and Sarah didn't get lucky, did they? They planned it out. They filmed the kids in the bath, obviously. They knew what they were doing from the outset. Didn't just get lucky with that one viral Christmas video. They'd been flogging their kids long before that, handing them out around the dark web and stuff like that. So, what did Chris say to that? No one got lucky with anything. Everything that we have was achieved through careful planning, unwavering dedication, and 110% discipline in everything we do. So, Chris, you absolutely definitely planned from the outset that you were going to exploit your kids. So it wasn't just getting lucky, wasn't by accident, wasn't by chance. It was in fact planned. I'm glad you pointed that out because I wasn't sure. I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but it turns out you are even more evil than I gave you credit for. Another commenter said, this isn't true though. I'm currently working in retail at the age of 19. Yes, okay, fair enough. I'm in college, resitting maths. But when he says the majority does my head in, going to uni and following my dreams to forensics, explain to me how I'm going to get there without GCSEs, my BTEC course, and uni. And Chris obviously replied to this with the following: you haven't listened to what I actually said. You have taken 2 + 2 and made 5. Well, ask your lovely wife about maths because I'm sure she would come up with the same equation too. This video was an extract from a long form video where I discussed this at length. What I was saying was that if you were feeling bad because you had issues with your GCSEs, then it wasn't the end of the world. See, that part I get, right? I do get it. I actually think that that's not said enough, that if you don't get your GCSEs, it is not the end of your life, right? Even as far back when I was at school, they drummed it into you that GCSEs was everything. If you don't study now, if you don't pass your exams now, then that is your life over, right? Basically, that's what I was taught. But when I left school, I found out that that wasn't actually true, right? So I get where he's coming from on that particular point, but a lot of it is not quite just that, is it? It's the constant pushing that you should do this instead of that, right? I think that there should be a healthy balance between, following whatever it is path that you want, or schooling, or entrepreneurship, starting your own business, being rich, or just being happy, those sort of things, right? I think there needs to be a healthy balance. Chris, though, is pushing so much you need to be rich and you can't get rich by staying in school. So that's automatically going to bring everybody's backs up, So, Chris, I think that's where you're going wrong. And that's my piece of advice for you, is that you need to tone it down and just say, look, there's options. You don't have to follow your school or your education through mainstream schooling, but you can if you want to, because you don't ever mention that. You never ever say there's anything good about going to mainstream school, and you need to give a balanced opinion on this, I feel, anyway. He goes on to say, yes, if you want to study a subject at uni, you need to get their entry grades and subjects. So in your case, you'll need your GCSE exams, but there are also plenty of routes to everything you want to do in life that doesn't require school exams to get you there. And again, I agree with that, because what they don't teach you at school is that you can actually go to university without going through the traditional route of GCSEs, A-levels, then university, right? You can do it. There are other ways around it. It's not all set in stone, and they don't teach you that at school. So in that respect, again, I agree with Chris, but I don't agree with everything that he says, just certain aspects. I think balance is the key, again. He also goes on to say, I also said, which is a fact, that if you had ambition of being financially free and making enough money to call yourself rich, then no job you get from any education will give you that level of living. And I don't agree with that, right? Because you can... being rich is very subjective, and it depends what you class as being rich, right? Some people will say, if you are healthy, then you're rich. If you have family, then you're rich, and things like that. But Chris is specifically talking about money rich, right? So you could go to university and get a job, a very well-paying job, right? A doctor. You could be a doctor. You could be earning hundreds of £1,000s a year. And to me, that is a lot of money, right? I would class myself as pretty well off if I was earning that sort of money. And then you could go and live somewhere which isn't too expensive. And you would then have a lot of, disposable income, so it's all about what you do with the money that you have, I feel, right? So I don't think that is entirely right in saying that there's no job anywhere that you can get through school to, with your education in order to get and then become rich. He thinks that rich is literally being a millionaire. He's not a millionaire, and yet he actually, well, allegedly he has an education. Apparently he was going to go to uni, but he dropped out because he had the mental health issues, which I was told last night by somebody on a live, that mental health is fake. So, do with that what you will, Chris, isn't it? You have to become an entrepreneur and create your own business these days to make money on that level. That's all I said. It's all true. It's not all true. It's your subjective opinion. That is. It's not a truth. It's an opinion, right? I mean, my opinion is that if you're running your own business, you have more chance of becoming rich than if you went through the schooling system and did it that way. I don't know if I'm right. I don't think there's a right or wrong. That's just my opinion and the way I can do it. I didn't have the best education. I mean, I had the opportunity, I just didn't take it. But everybody has different expectations in life, and Chris has chosen the entrepreneur route, which isn't going too well for him, let's be honest with you. He goes on to say, so please watch the full video on YouTube for the full context. Already done that, Christopher. So this person said, so education isn't important then? Chris replied, if you want to follow a degree course and get into a profession like medicine and law that requires degrees in their field, then yes, it's important. But what I was saying is that no job spawns from education is going to make you rich in 2025. But being a lawyer might make you rich, to be honest. It's a very good profession. And what I don't understand what you're actually saying here, because on one hand you're saying no job will make you rich and you shouldn't, well, he's not saying you shouldn't do it, but if you go down the education route, then you're not going to be rich. But you also do need education to get into law or medicine, for example, and he's admitting that. But then if you don't do education, then you can't get into law or medicine, which will be a good job. And then you're saying that no job is going to make you rich, but at the same time listing medicine and law as examples of jobs that may make you rich. So I don't know. The only way to become that is through entrepreneurship, owning your own business and making is massively successful. Most of the world's really financially successful people did not create their wealth from school or from any degree school offered them. That's all I was saying. Right, gotcha, Christopher. I wonder which massively rich people he's talking about. Is this Andrew Tate, the one that's just been convicted of or charged with rape? Is that the massively rich person he's on about? I don't know, you know. I mean, there are a lot of rich people in the world. They don't all go to school or all have been to school or done well at school, but some have, you know. It's a mixture, I would say. Another commenter said, okay, but if Isabel wanted to go to uni to do psychology, the whole narrative would change, no? Because it's what suits you. And this obviously gets Chris's back up because somebody's attacking Isabel. Oh, yes. He replied, sorry, what? It's what suits us? You are either very immature or young, or brainwashed by stupid people's narratives about us. No, what this is facts about life and facts about how the financial systems of the world work in 2025. If you hadn't noticed, we're living pretty well. That's not because we pick and choose what is real and what's not to suit our own narratives. It's because we know the systems and we operate them well. And that's quite an interesting point that you bring up there, Chris. You know the systems and you operate them. Oh, you do. The thing is, right, okay, so some people might say, right, yeah, the 140 grand debt that they owe through their old business, it's got to be written off, hasn't it? Because it's not a personal debt, it's a company debt. However, right, if you look at it, if they had paid the money that they owe people, then they would have had less money to use for the lifestyle that they have now, right? So if they had paid their debts and not run away from them, then they would have more money, or no, less money, and they wouldn't be living this financially free lifestyle that they claim there. But yeah, it's not really that financially free, is it? The debts are catching up with you though, Chris, aren't they? In fact, I read, and somebody, please let me know in the comments down below more about this, right? So basically, if you get it, right, I was on my own credit app, right, credit score app yesterday, and it came up with well, I was reading information and it said if you're a CCJ against your name, it can lower your credit report or your credit score by as much as 250 points. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Is that true? Right, because I know obviously having a CCJ is bad, right? I've never had one, so I don't know, right? But will you lose 250 points if you have a CCJ against your name? Chris has got 2. No, sorry, fucking hell, I was giving him credit for that then. How many has he got? 5. He's got 5. Is it 250 points per credit, per debt, per CCJ, is what I'm trying to say? Is it 250 points per CCJ, or is that just a, as a 1? Let me know what you think or what you know in the comments down below. Some people will know more than me. So yeah, also obviously Sarah's got 1. So it got me to thinking, how fucked are their credit actually, right? Again, I've never had brilliant credit because I'm not very good with money, but I've never had a CCJ, as I said, and they've got 6 between them personally and 2 on the business. Obviously the business one doesn't matter anymore, but 6 between them on the personals. How are they ever going to get a credit again? If you lose this mortgage, right, if you lose your house, you're not buying another house again, ever. I feel that for you. I really do. How does that make you feel? In fact, Sarah's always banging on about how they're not in debt. It's all brilliant. It's all, everything is as it should be. They're just closing the business down, and those CCJs that they had are, they're mistakes and everything. But does she know the impact of the CCJs on their credit? Is she aware of that? Because she's in for a shock, isn't she? Unless you've got money in your bank to buy houses outright, you're not buying another house again at all, are you? You're not getting one, no. That's why you haven't bought a house in Dubai, isn't it? I don't know how the credit works over there. Do they? I mean, they might not look at the credit that they have in the UK, but they obviously don't have any credit in Dubai in order to buy a house. I'm almost feeling sorry for them. I can't. It is funny though. So this person replied to Chris and said, if you were not successful on YouTube or social media, you would not be saying this. And that is actually very, very true. If they had not been successful on YouTube, then they would not be able to be in this position in order to say education is not worthwhile. Because education would be everything to them, right? Most of us normal humans who don't have YouTube channels have to work and educate ourselves to be successful. Very true, exceptionally true. I'm extremely glad you guys are financially stable. I would do anything for your life. I wouldn't, though, to be fair, as I'm sure many would agree, but this is real life, not stock market crap. And Chris, got his defences up there because, oh my god, you are attacking his baby with the stock market crap. That's the point. No, you don't. Success has nothing to do with YouTube channel. Well, to be fair, Chris, it has everything to do with your success or comparative success, right? Because if you didn't have YouTube, then you would absolutely not be in this position at all. You're not clever enough. If you are open-minded and smart enough to look and learn, there are millions of opportunities that can make you extremely rich. None of which need education or exam qualifications. You mean those courses that you were selling for 500 quid? Yeah, you don't need education for that, I know. Alright, I do know, I'm aware of that. It didn't make you rich though, did it? Those are absolutely needed if you want a profession like medicine or law or civil engineering, etc. Then you absolutely need education and your exams. But if that's not you, but you just want a good life, that's money worry free. You do not get that life from making sure you're a good soldier, taking all your exams, something you could easily learn about yourself if you directed your negative energy into positive towards your own life. Also, just FYI, stock market crap, etc. Are what make people extremely rich. Just because something is new, like crypto, etc., doesn't mean it's bad or unrealistic. It just means you're too lazy to learn. And have you learned, Chris? Have you learned? Because you're two tips that you've given on your little Discord group thing, right? The 2 tips that you've given have both lost people money. So, including yourself for that matter. This person replied and said, Isabel needs her A-levels and a degree to do psychology since that's what she's passionate about. Hope you decide to support her and don't try to deter her from her passions just because you think you know best. And this definitely got Chris's back up because, again, you're attacking. Well, you're not even attacking Isabel, you're just commenting, but Chris doesn't like that, and he had to have a right go back and said, you are now just chatting to chat, literally taking everything I said and twisting it word for word. So to clarify, there's nothing wrong with getting an education, taking your exams and working a job that requires you having to work, having a degree to work. But what I said was that it's not the only route. You didn't actually say that. You said if you want to be a good soldier. That was very condescending to a lot of people, right? You got to understand you're an influencer who many people look up to, apparently, allegedly, anyway. So people who can do their exams or failed them shouldn't feel demoralized because of that. I also said that if you want to get rich in life, no job will give you that, both of which are true. But both is all I said. Isabel will do both. She is a successful entrepreneur and she has already made for life from it. Does Isabel know this though? Does she know that she's an entrepreneur? Because from the naked eye, it almost seems like she just wanders about aimlessly all day in her own little world, right? She's already made for life from it. That will never change, and she will never have to worry about money again. That's all her own doing. Well, yeah, because she's been pimped out since she's been the age of 11. Since the age of 11, of course, it's all her own doing. On top of that, she is passionate about learning and studying to be a psychologist. Right, and she hasn't diagnosed you yet, Chris, as a narcissist, what the hell, which of course we support. She gets the best of both worlds. She earns a ton of money from being an entrepreneur, and she also gets to work something she is passionate about. Why would anyone discourage her from that? Stop taking all my words and making them into drama. All it does is show your immaturity and low level of intellect. There you go. That person was intellectually challenged, apparently, according to Christopher. So, what do you reckon about this? Let me know in the comments down below what your opinions are of Chris's ranting and raving here. It's a little bit insane if you ask me. Anyway, so if you have appreciated this video, please give it a massive thumbs up. Obviously comment all of your thoughts about it down below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Until next time, have an amazing day. Don't be Chris Ingham.